Well, I think it's probably one of the most common problems that can potentially be misdiagnosed. When we think of, strategies, most banks don't fail because they have a lack of strategy or even a lack of vision. Most boards and executives team can probably articulate a vision and a strategy pretty clearly, pretty compelling. They will have, aspects such as growth and digital transformation and expansion and all those words. But, I feel that too often banks and mutual banks, perhaps in particular in the smaller ones, which most of us are in that category, are probably on a path of continuous improvement rather than asking perhaps the questions that we should be asking, and being brave enough to perhaps challenge the status quo. What do our organisations need to look like to be perhaps relevant in the next 5 to 10 years? And it's a pretty uncomfortable truth for many organisations to ask that question. Because really the challenge is that you can't really close that strategic gap just by working harder.
Can't solve too many problems, John. We just can't. In terms of, even medium-sized and complexity projects, we're probably only managing, a couple of those at a time. Or initiatives. We've got to be very, very careful. So there does need to be ruthless prioritisation. One of the things I did do and work with the team and spent quite some time on early on was, maturity analysis stuff. So where are we and where do we think we need to be? And through 5 or 6 buckets, and then looking at the couple of buckets where we thought there was the most potential to achieve what we knew that we wanted to achieve. And what we're trying to achieve is revenue or growth, revenue uplift. Costs are increasing. We just need to do that if we're going to remain sustainable. Not just sustainable, but vigorous and fun and enjoyable as well, and be able to do some stuff on an ongoing basis. And then the second thing is, we want to get some operational efficiency, so that as we're growing, we're not just continually having to increase fixed costs, bring more people and do those sorts of things. And there's lots of opportunity there without even going near technology. So those were the 2 buckets that we decided to focus on.
Success is a healthy corporate scorecard, without a doubt. But there's an and to it, which is how you measure that your strategy is working. And I think the key measure of success there is that your members choose you when it matters most. And then it's working out, well, how do you measure that? And so, that might be, as I mentioned, that, so an example, we know for our defence members that posting cycles tend to occur in that August to November period. So if our engagement with our content online is spiking in those periods, we know that they're choosing to engage with us in a moment that really matters. And so they're the types of nuances I think we need to understand if you are there when it matters most. And again, that will differ, I think, for each bank, depending on their target market, how they're choosing to differentiate. But I think that's the important way of looking at things is when it matters most, how do they choose you and how are they engaging with you and how do you measure that they are?
And my favourite question is, what problem are we trying to solve here? You said answering the wrong question is very expensive. Know what the question is. What are we trying to solve here? And don't go rushing in until you know that. Otherwise, you just don't have the right required tools. You don't set the right benchmarks, and you'll end up somewhere, but it mightn't be where you thought you were going to end up.